Historians had one rule, one timeline, one agreed-upon fact that every textbook, every university, and every expert on Earth accepted without question. Organized human civilization began approximately 6,000 years ago. That was settled science, the foundation of everything we thought we knew about ourselves. The Sumerians in 3500 BC, the Egyptians shortly after. Writing, agriculture, religion, architecture, all of it emerging together round the same era. From the same fertile crescent of the ancient Middle East. That was the story. And then, in southeastern Turkey, a German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt started digging. What he pulled out of the ground was not consistent with a civilization from 6,000 years ago. It was not consistent with 10,000 years ago. It was not even consistent with the entire known timeline of organized human society. The structures buried under that Turkish hillside were 12,000 years old, possibly older, built with a level of architectural precision and symbolic complexity that should not have existed for another 6,000 years. No explanation was offered. No announcement was made to the public. Several governments quietly restricted site access. The researchers went silent. The site is called Göbekli Tepe in Turkish. The name means pot-belly hill. It sits on a ridge in the southeastern Anatolia region, roughly 15 kilometers northeast of the city of Zanliurfa. From the outside, it looks like a rocky hillside. Unremarkable, forgettable. German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt first visited the site in 1994, after reviewing a survey from the 1960s that had incorrectly classified the stone formations as a medieval cemetery. Schmidt looked at the same stones and immediately understood they were something else entirely. He began excavations in 1995. He would spend the next 19 years of his life on that hill, until his death in 2014. What he uncovered was this: a complex of massive circular stone enclosures, built from limestone pillars weighing between 10 and 20 metric tons each. The pillars were T-shaped, deliberately cut, precisely positioned, and covered every surface in detailed, sophisticated carvings. Animals, symbols, abstract geometric patterns, images of creatures that required not just artistic skill, but conceptual thinking, symbolic language, and organized collective labor on a scale that the accepted timeline said was impossible in 10,000 BC. The radiocarbon dating placed the oldest layers of Göbekli Tepe at approximately 9,600 BC, making it 11,600 years old, and subsequent analysis of deeper, unexcavated layers suggests portions of the site may be significantly older still. For context, the Egyptian pyramids were built around 2500 BC. Göbekli Tepe predates the pyramids by more than 7,000 years. Stonehenge, which we consider ancient, was built around 3000 BC. Göbekli Tepe was already thousands of years old by the time the first stone was placed at Stonehenge. The question archaeologists could not answer, and still cannot answer today, was this: who built it? Because in 9600 BC, according to every established model of human development, the people of this region were hunter-gatherers, nomadic, pre-agricultural. They had no permanent settlements, no organized religion, no architectural tradition. They should not have been capable of this. The carvings at Göbekli Tepe are not primitive. That is the first thing every archaeologist who visits the site says. The reliefs are three-dimensional. They have depth, perspective, and anatomical accuracy. The animals, foxes, vultures, scorpions, wild boar, cranes, lions, snakes, are rendered with a naturalistic quality that suggests not just artistic skill, but a developed visual language. But the carvings are not simply decorative. Researchers believe they are communicative. They are trying to say something. The problem is that nobody knows exactly what. In 2017, a team from Edinburgh University published a paper proposing that specific animal carvings at Göbekli Tepe, particularly on a pillar known as the Vulture Stone, or Pillar 43, represent a sophisticated astronomical record, a star map, encoded in stone 12,000 years ago, by people who supposedly had no astronomy. The Vulture Stone appears to depict a specific configuration, of stars that would have been visible in approximately 10,950 BC, the precise date of one of the most catastrophic events in Earth's recent geological history, the Younger Dryas Impact Event, when a comet or series of cosmic fragments struck the northern hemisphere, triggering a sudden global cooling that lasted over 1,000 years. The Edinburgh team argued that the builders of Göbekli Tepe may have been recording this catastrophe, preserving it, warning future generations. Other researchers went further. The headless human figures carved into several pillars, paired with vultures, a common symbol of death across multiple ancient cultures, suggest an entire cosmological belief system, a theology, a structured understanding of life, death, the cosmos, and humanity's place within it. All of this, encoded by people who were not supposed to have religion, art, or symbolic thought sophisticated enough to require a monument. Scientists still don't fully understand what message, if any, the builders of Göbekli Tepe were trying to leave behind. The Vulture Stone alone has generated more than 40 competing academic interpretations. And if the message is not yet decoded, then consider what that means. Somewhere in the soil of Turkey, a civilization 12,000 years ago carved instructions, or history, or warnings, into stone specifically because stone lasts. They chose permanence deliberately. What did they need to preserve so urgently? In 1963, the Department of Education, in the Niğde province of Turkey, began a routine renovation project on a house. In the region known as Cappadocia, the workers demolished a wall in the basement. Behind it was a tunnel. The tunnel led to a room. The room led to another tunnel. That tunnel led to another room, and another, and another. They had accidentally broken into Derinkuyu, the largest underground city ever discovered on Earth. Derinkuyu extends 18 levels below the surface. It reaches a depth of approximately 85 meters, roughly the height of a 28-story building, carved downward into the volcanic rock. It contains ventilation shafts, wells, storage rooms, wine cellars, stables, chapels, schools, and communal living areas. At its full capacity, archaeological estimates suggest it could house between 20,000 and 50,000 people. It is connected by underground tunnels to at least 6 other subterranean cities in the Cappadocia region. The entrances were sealed by massive circular stone doors weighing between 200 and 500 kilograms each that could only be closed from the inside. Think about that. Design choice for a moment. The doors only lock from inside, which means the people who built this city designed it as a fortress against something outside. They carved 85 meters into the earth, built a city for 50,000 people, engineered ventilation, shafts so perfect that fresh air still circulates through the tunnels today, and then sealed the doors. The conventional explanation is that Derinkuyu was built as a refuge from Arab invasions in the 7th and 8th centuries AD, or perhaps from the Persians earlier. That is the official timeline. But archaeologists who have studied the deepest levels of the city have found evidence of habitation that predates those invasions by thousands of years. The lowest levels show tool marks and construction techniques inconsistent with medieval carving. No one can explain exactly how old the deepest sections of Derinkuyu actually are, and no one has answered the most fundamental question. What were they hiding from? In 2019, Turkish archaeologists excavating a site called Karahantepe, located approximately 35 kilometers southeast of Göbekli Tepe, made a discovery that stopped the academic conversation dead. Karahantepe is a sister site to Göbekli Tepe, same region, same era, same construction style. But where Göbekli Tepe revealed stone circles with T-shaped pillars, Karahantepe revealed something that had never been seen before in archaeological history. Inside a carved stone chamber, researchers uncovered a series of three-dimensional human sculptures, full torsos, realistic facial features. One figure had a severed head placed deliberately between its legs. Another had a realistic human skull, an actual skull, incorporated into the stone structure, embedded into the wall of the chamber. The chamber itself was unlike anything at Göbekli Tepe. It appeared to be a ritual space, not a gathering area, not a storage room, but but a room designed specifically for a ceremony involving death, the body, and the skull. In 12,000-year-old Turkey. Necromancy, ancestor worship, ritual engagement with the dead, belief systems so sophisticated that they required dedicated architectural spaces, built by people who, according to the textbooks, were still figuring out how to grow wheat. But the discovery that drew the most attention from the international academic community was a single carved stone pillar at Karahantepe. On its surface, researchers found something that no one was prepared for: a realistic, three-dimensional human face, carved directly into the stone. Eyes, nose, mouth, expression. It is the oldest realistic human portrait ever found, 12,000 years old, staring directly at whoever stands in front of it. Archaeologist Decode, who led the Karahantepe excavation, described seeing it for the first time as profoundly unsettling. Not because it was frightening, but because it was human. Recognizably, undeniably, fully human. Someone carved that face 12,000 years ago and looked at it the same way you are looking at it now. Who were they? Here is the uncomfortable arithmetic of Göbekli. The site was built at 9,600 BC. The largest T-shaped pillars weigh up to 20 metric tons. They were quarried from limestone beds located up to 500 meters away. They were transported without wheels, which had not yet been invented. They were raised upright and precisely positioned without cranes, pulleys, or metal tools of any kind. The pillars in Enclosure D alone, one of the best preserved circular structures, were arranged with such geometric accuracy that modern engineers, re-examining the positioning, found the alignment was deliberate and intentional, not approximate. A team of researchers from Ataturk University calculated that constructing just one enclosure at Göbekli Tepe would have required a minimum of 500 workers, coordinated over an extended period, potentially years. 500 organized workers. In 9,600 BC, that level of social organization, the ability to mobilize, feed, house, and direct hundreds of workers toward a single non-survival purpose, requires agriculture. It requires surplus food production. It requires hierarchy, leadership, and specialization of labor. But here is the paradox that Klaus Schmidt himself spent decades wrestling with. Göbekli Tepe shows no evidence of permanent settlement. No houses, no granaries, no trash middens indicating long-term habitation. The people who built it did not live there. They came, they built, they left. And then, deliberately, intentionally, they buried it. Around 8,000 BC, someone filled the entire site with clean soil. Thousands of tons of it. Every enclosure was packed full and sealed. Not by erosion, not by time, by human hands. They buried their own creation, that no one can explain exactly why. The deliberate burial is one of the most studied and least resolved mysteries in modern archaeology. Theories range from ritual consecration to deliberate preservation and active protection, ensuring the site would survive whatever was coming next. Think about that for a moment. 12,000 years ago, a group of human beings built the most complex structure on Earth and then buried it so carefully, so completely, that it survived untouched for 12,000 years. As if they knew someone, someday, would need to find it. Let us look at what Turkey has given us. A megalithic complex at Göbekli Tepe, built 12,000 years ago by people who should not have had the social organization, the architectural knowledge, or the symbolic sophistication to build it. A star map carved into stone that appears to record a cosmic catastrophe from 10,950 BC. And no one agrees on why. An underground city at Derinkuyu, 85 meters deep, built for 50,000 people, with doors that only lock from the inside, and no agreed upon explanation for what they were hiding from. A ritual chamber at Karahantepe containing the oldest, realistic human portrait in history, carved by someone who looked at the human face the same way we do. And a deliberate burial, an intentional act of preservation. A civilization that built something extraordinary, sealed it in the earth, and left. Every one of these discoveries was made by credentialed archaeologists, published in peer-reviewed journals, and verified by independent teams. None of them are fringe theory. All of them are real. And yet the fundamental question, who exactly were these people? Where did they come from? And what happened to them remains completely unanswered. The conventional model of human history asks us to believe that civilization appeared, fully formed, roughly 6,000 years ago in Mesopotamia. No precursor, no gradual development, just suddenly, cities, writing, religion, and mathematics. Göbekli Tepe does not fit that model. Neither does Derinkuyu. Neither does Karahantepe. Neither does the carved face that stares at you across 12,000 years with recognizable, unmistakable human intelligence behind its eyes. What Turkey's soil is telling us, quietly, persistently, one excavation at a time, is that the story of human civilization is older, longer, and more complex than we have been willing to admit. We are not the first sophisticated humans. We are not the peak of the story. We are somewhere in the middle of a timeline we do not yet fully understand, and somewhere in the hills of southeastern Turkey, beneath layers of soil that have not yet been touched by any archaeologist's brush, there are answers to questions we have not yet had the courage to ask. Göbekli Tepe is only 5% excavated. 95% of whatever is buried there remains in the ground.